Today I'd like to share with you what I do when I have a first lesson with a student who's never improvised before. Lots of pianists come to me who have had classical training and they've only ever played notated music. And this is the lesson I give them when we first meet, to get them to break down some barriers and get them improvising in a non-threatening way. And but it's a real musical activity. It's not just a simple exercise. You can actually do something good with what I'm going to show you here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to only play on the black notes. And I'd like you to learn this melody, listen to this melody, and learn it by ear. If you're doing this at your piano, listen to it. I'm going to cover up my hand on the notes at first and see if you can learn this melody by ear, finding it on the black notes. Here it is. Right, so you can find those notes on the piano, mess around with it until you can get it figured out by ear. And I'm not going to include any notation with this lesson because this is about learning to find these things and play by ear. I also want you to be really careful about learning the rhythm properly. So this time I'm going to keep a beat, I'm going to count it off, and this starts on beat 4. That's a pickup. So it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. So that melody is a song called Bag's Groove. A slightly simplified version of it, but it's the song Bag's Groove by Milt Jackson. That is a 4-measure melody, and you repeat that 4-measure melody 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12, and that is a very simple 12-bar blues. So now that you have that, I'd like to have you play along with me. Can you play this melody in your right hand? I'm going to play some notes in the left hand. Don't pay too much attention to those, but for right now, just think about hearing the beat that I'm putting down, play the melody with me, and just let the sounds come into your ears. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. So I just played it twice there. It was a 12-bar blues, and I played 2 times through that 12 bars, so that's 2 choruses. Now, you may have noticed in the left hand that I played some notes that went through a certain pattern, and I want us to think about if we have in the left hand E flat, and if we just walk up the first 5 notes of a major scale. And you can get this very easily if you just think you do a whole step where you skip a note, a whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step. Get those first 5 notes. And then we need the first note, the 4th note, and the 5th note. The pattern we're going to do is 1, 4, 1, 1. 4, 4, 1, 1. 5, 4, 1, 1. Each of those numbers I just gave you is a full measure, and that's 1 chord per measure. So the first 4 measures go 1, 4, 1, 1. The next 4 measures 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 1. So you'll notice we have 3 4-measure phrases, and each phrase starts with a different chord, but measures 2 through 4 of those phrases is 4, 1, 1. So we go 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, and 5, 4, 1, 1. Okay? So why don't you try playing along with that? And of course, 1 is E flat, 4 is A flat, and 5 is B flat. So we go 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 1. I'm going to do this twice. The first time will be just the left hand. The second time I'm going to add in the melody of the right hand. So you can hear them together, but just focus on playing the left hand. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. I guess I said I wasn't going to play the melody the first time, but I did. But no big deal. The left hand was still there, so it's 1, 4, 1, 1. Second phrase. 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 1. So now the next thing you want to do is to be able to play your melody in the right hand and play this in the left hand. Play the bass line in the left hand. Now there's a little bit of a coordination issue because we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can practice that quite a bit, and you want to get the left hand and the right hand both automatic. I'm going to play it through again a couple times. You can play along with me. 1, 2, 3. So if you were to stop the video right now and play through that 100 or 200 times, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But once you've done that, once you feel kind of good about that, what we're going to do is this. We're going to keep the left hand playing what it was playing. 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 4, 1, 1, 5, 4, 1, 1. And in the right hand, we're going to now make up a new melody just based on those same black notes of Bag's Groove. Okay, you might want to try this. You might want to play the melody of Bag's Groove first through the full 12 measures with the left hand, and then on the second chorus, start making up a new melody in the right hand. Now, it's going to be challenging to keep the left hand going while you have your right hand making up a new melody. So I'd like you to think about most of your mental energy is going toward your left hand and keeping that rock solid, and make the right hand simple melodies. And if you can get the left hand practiced enough so that it becomes somewhat automatic, then you can start focusing more on interesting melodies in the right hand. I'm going to do the last 4 measures of the melody and then go to the top of the form and just do some simple improvising. And you'll hear that all of the notes, these black notes here, centering on E flat as the tonic pitch, this is the E flat minor pentatonic scale, and all of these notes sound good. It's a little simplistic as a sort of harmonic melodic language, but all of the notes sound good, and it's really easy to play things that sound bluesy. And I encourage you to think of these as melodies and think of these as bluesy melodies and keep the left hand going and practice this and see how they come out. All right, so here's the last 4 measures of the melody. 2, 3, 4. Here's the top of the form. I'm going to improvise. Okay, so I was doing a really simple melody in the right hand, and I even sort of based it around the original melody. I'm going to do a couple more courses of this, and I'd really like you to stop the video and try this on your own and see what kinds of melodies you can come up with. It's important that you keep a solid groove going if you can, and don't stop the time if you are trying to do something in the right hand and it doesn't happen. Allow what you're able to play with your right hand to determine what you actually do play. So don't reach for things that you're not going to be able to do. It's much better to play simple ideas in time than complex ideas and you lose your time and you stop. All right, so I'm going to play a couple more choruses of some things you might do. I'm going to stop counting so I can think about some more interesting rhythmic things. And here we go. So I'm going to do the last 4 measures of the head, the tune. We'll go into the top of the form, and I'll do a couple choruses of blues while I maintain the form with the left hand and focusing only on the right note, the right hand playing the black notes. All right, so here's the last 4 measures. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Here's the top of form. Okay, grabbed a wrong bass note on the left hand, but corrected it right away. And did you notice I didn't drop the time? I just kept the time going and corrected it to the right note. And that's the skill you want to develop as well. Now, we've got 2 things. We've got the right hand so far playing melody on the black notes. And there's the melody of Bag's Groove, and then an improvised melody. The left hand has been playing the roots of the chords, so in whole notes. Okay, I want to add a third element in, and that's going to be between the 2, and it's some notes of a voicing. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. We're on E flat, go up an octave to E flat, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to G, and then from the E flat, we're going to come down to D flat. Okay, these are the notes we're going to play. This is actually the 3rd and the 7th of the E flat 7 chord. But if you don't know those chords, you can think the first 3 notes of the scale, and then from E flat, and we got it. Okay? Now here's a really cool thing. If we do that same process on A flat, we get these notes, okay? But I'm going to take these notes, the C and the G flat, and I'm going to turn them upside down. I'm going to take the G flat and drop it down here. Now when I do that, this is actually right next to where we were for the E flat 7 chord. And my computer just went to sleep. I want to make sure it's recording properly. Okay, good. We're still recording. All right, so really interesting thing how this is E flat 7. We could do the same thing on A flat, but I'm going to turn this upside down, and these two notes, we're just sliding down a half step right here. Okay, it's an interesting voice leading concept here that I can go into more detail on a later video. But for now, just think of it as a tactile pattern. You get your first one, and when you go to the 4 chord, you go down a half step. And then we come back up. This is the 4 chord, 4 chord, 1, 1. Now for the 5 chord, similar sort of thing. See those notes right there? I can take this D, put it on top. This is our B flat 7 chord. If we're on E flat, this just goes up a half step to the 5 chord. Then we circle around, down here. Okay, so you can think of this really as a tactile pattern. You find these notes, and then for the 4 chord, you go down a half step. And then you come back up. For the 1 chord, you go down for the 4 chord. Come back for the 1 chord. And then you go up for the 5 chord, and then underneath for the 4 chord. And you come back for the 1 chord. So if you add this to the right hand, I'm going to call this the voicing, even though it's just 2 notes, 3rd and 7th. So we have bass in the left hand, voicing in the right hand. And we can do this with the form of the song, where it goes 1, 4 chord, it's the 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 4 chord, 4, 1, 1, the 5 chord, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So I'd like to play this through a few times. And you can use this little bit of the video a few different ways. You can practice playing it along with me, but then you can go back and play it again, and you can just improvise on the right hand on the black notes, and it's going to sound really good. All right? So I'm going to play it now. I'll play it through twice maybe. And first time you listen to it, why don't you practice playing this along with me, and then go back. I'll put in a timestamp so you can come back to the spot and practice playing both the melody and the improvisation on the black notes over these chords. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. Now you can add in if you want. So if you tried the melody over this, you might realize there are some clashes. Like, listen to that. Hear that note clashes with these, okay? But that's part of what the blues is, and it sounds really good. I'm going to take this first chord here, and rather than doing it here, I'm going to take the A flat here so I can play the whole thing in my left hand, and listen to what this sounds like. I didn't go to the 4 chord because I can't reach the whole thing, but right? It sounds really good over it. Now the next chord would be that. I'm going to just leave off the C and play these two notes. Okay, so we have three things now. We've got a melody, we've got a voicing, and we got a bass note. We have played bass and melody. We've played bass and voicing. Now I'd like you to play voicing in the left hand with no bass and melody in the right hand. So let's take the melody up an octave and we do the voicings here, and we get this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Improvise. 2, 3. Okay, you might be wondering, well, what about the bass, right? We're not playing bass at all. Doesn't that need to be there? That's how you can approach playing if you're playing with a bass player. You leave out the bass player will play those low notes. You put the voicing in the left hand and you do the improvisation in the right hand. Okay, so now we've tried a few different things. We've got a melody and a bass and a voicing. We've done all of the pairings. We did bass and voicing. We did bass and melody. We did voicing and melody. Now I'd like to combine and do all three at once. Okay, it's almost like juggling because we have three things to do and we have two hands, but we're going to do two of them with the left hand. So what I'd like to do is mostly think about doing a single bass note and then coming up and grabbing these. Okay, it doesn't need to be in a specific time, and we don't need to continually grab every bass note, but we're going to occasionally be like moving back and forth between these two jobs with our left hand. So here's what I mean. Okay, I apologize for some of the little stumbles. I'm not used to limiting myself, and my hands wanted to reach for some other things beyond the parameters of what we're defining here. So there's that. It's kind of a free approach to how you can do it. You're doing some bass notes and some of the voicings in the right hand. You can play the melody if you want. You can improvise. Now, if you want to be a little more structured with what the left hand is doing, you can do a simple stride pattern. And I'd suggest you practice it first by doing the root here and the voicing in the right, and just alternating 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So you can get the sense of the space and what it sounds like. But then you're going to do both of those parts with your left hand. So it'll sound like this. Use a touch of pedal to hold the bass note, but don't let it get too murky. And then you can add the melody. It's good without the pedal. And then you can improvise. You can make it very, very simple. Just got to keep the time going and keep the rhythm going. So you could do a little performance. You could play the melody with the bass. You could improvise. If you had musicians you wanted to play with, you could play this to accompany them, and they could improvise. So all these possibilities. So if you can take this and experiment with this and come up with as many interesting and creative ways as you can to play these, you will have a great start to a very solid, competent sounding solo jazz piano style based in simple blues. Now, here's a bonus, okay? I want to take this thing that we just played, the melody. I want to break this down a second. Do you see how this goes up? A perfect fifth is that sound. And then we come down a whole step and down a whole step. And then we're back to our original melody note and then down a whole step. So we're going to memorize this pattern. Go up a perfect fifth, down a whole step, down a whole step, down a whole step, or down to the original note and down a whole step. We can now do that on any note on the piano. So look at this. Here's an F. Go up a perfect fifth, down a whole step, down a whole step, original note, and down a step. If we can get those notes, we can play this melody now in the key of F. Okay? In the left hand, we walk up our scale, we get 1, 4, and 5. Essentially with the same tactile patterns. If we know the notes we're playing, we can play. Okay, of course, it's not nearly as easy to improvise over this scale since it's not just the black notes. Okay, but that's part of the challenge. Now, do you remember how we got the chords? We got F. We walk up. There's our starting pitch. We get this. We go down in the right hand a half step to the 4 chord. And then the right hand goes up a half step here, below, and back. And just from figuring that out, we can now play. You could do it on G. Up a perfect fifth, down a whole step, original note, down a whole step. Left hand. 1, 4, and 5. 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, take a minute. You can do it in every key. That would be a great thing to practice. Now, of course, it's kind of obnoxious for me to always say, you got to do everything in every key. But if you could just try this in E flat, practice it, and then maybe just try it in one other key. F is a good key, B flat, C is a good key. And you'll start to develop a connection between the shapes you're playing on the piano, how they sound, and how it feels, and how you understand how they relate to one another. All right, so that's the first lesson that I typically do with people when I'm trying to introduce them to jazz piano. Now, if I do a lesson with them, we do a lot more playing back and forth and so on. But I think with the video, you can probably go back and loop some of the tracks and the sections to practice these things. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I hope you get something out of this. This was essentially the exercise that broke me out of being only a classical pianist and starting to improvise. And I've found that it worked really well for me, and it's worked well for students I've had over the last 20 years. So I plan to do another video where I take this a little further and we develop some more interesting concepts in the right hand, some interesting textures in the left hand, do it in some other keys, eventually moving into more bebop style playing. But this is a really great place to start because everything you play in that right hand scale sounds good over every one of the bass notes and chords. So I hope you take this and give it a try. Play it, enjoy the freedom and the creativity of improvising. Once you sort of plug into that, it's really addicting, and I think you're going to really like it. All right, thanks for listening.